Mm. So welcome, Jonathan.
High five.
We had a lovely chat leading into this for probably about an hour, and recognize we had some really good flow going on a few different topics, and so we just decided we would stop and meditate and then come into it.
Yeah.
So what came up for you?
Well, I'm still, recognizing being and how that is incorporated into the concept of working. I feel so strongly in my life about being alive that I have a conceptual confliction with going to work. And I hear so many people describe their lives as about work rather than it being about their life.
What do you do?
Yeah, what do
Hi on top. What do you do?
yeah, what do you do? That's the primary in life is that we are working, and that is unsettling to me. It sits uncomfortably with me. And so I hear it with my friends and neighbors, even when they're excited about some endeavor they have put forth in their life, that, oh, I'm going to go work on that. Have you got your homework done? What did you do at work today? How was work? So in physics, work is described as the energy put forth in moving something. And how all this equates to our being, what we are, how we're living our lives, this existence that we have. I think it's really easy for people to be fully and completely caught up in a fictional life and disregard their own life.
Disregard the beingness.
Yeah.
Feeling that we must acknowledge that which we do.
Yeah, like that's the primary.
Yeah.
If we were born to work, well, I would have come out with a hammer. And my mom wouldn't have liked that so much.
No.
I understand that everything that is necessary for our existence is necessary. And I'm very happy to be a part of it. And for me, I'm just learning about describing my day to and with my friends and neighbors without describing it as a work. Just how may I discuss life while being descriptive and yet without defining it as work. And so you may hear Todd and I use the word endeavor and creating rather than working. And this is simply just so that, for myself, that I come into a more real place about my life, that I recognize that which I am in this moment, rather than some foreign description of this reality. And that actually leads into the whole the layers of identity that we carry that are actually fictitious. They're made up. They're like a drama in a book, and yet we say that that's who I am. Well, he's a plumber and she's a musician and she's a doctor, and and he's a care provider. I'm not my profession, and no one is their profession. I have, in my daily life, I've gone to the point of asking people, what do you do on your free time? You know, how do you like to spend your free time?
That's a beneficial opener.
You know?
Twist things around a little bit.
Yeah. What are your hobbies? If you could do anything in your life today, Todd, what is it that you would want to do now? If you want to be a part of some sort of activity, what is the activity most driving your interest?
It's interesting we go in that direction, because what was coming through for me when we sat before beginning was a quote I'd heard from Neil Donald Walsh before, and I've been really endeavoring to allow it to come back through what that quote was, because there was an energy to it that really resonated, but it wasn't coming back in. And then I was listening to a talk of his yesterday morning on relationships, and I heard it again, so I wrote it down. It says, "In the presence of that which you are without, you can experience that what you are." In the presence of that which you are without, so in the presence of the illusion, pursuing something that is really not what is within our being, we can experience that which we are. So with the presence of that which we're not, and recognizing what it feels like to be endeavoring to be what we're not, or what we're without, and we can experience that which we are.
What a great school.
And in the present, and then what he said, this is the one I'd heard before, was, in the presence of that which you are without, that which you are is without. So when you're in the presence of that which you are not, or without, then that is what is present. That which you are, what you truly are, is without in that moment. So the reminder that as we continue on within this illusion, that we're not honoring what we truly are. And also, the way it was first presented in a talk that I'd seen from his, I think from the late 90s, was that he had said, the talk was in and around abundance, was the theme for the discussion. So he said, when we declare ourselves to be abundant in the process of manifesting, we may then be faced with circumstances, situations that are everything but being abundant. And he said, that is because when you declare yourself to be something, he said, you're showing the reflection of everything that isn't. So we can firmly declare what we truly are. So we may say, oh, I'm abundant. I live in abundance all the time. Well, now that we put that out there, we're going to experience all these things that we've previously chosen that aren't about abundance. Because if we are really about abundance, then that's necessary for us to clear. And it is within the acknowledgement of that is without abundance that we see that we are abundance. Because we remember in that situation, in that experience, that is without feeling like it resonates with my being. That is the reason I know that I am without that.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. It's almost parallel to that idea that people go and find a profession and they apply themselves at it continuously, even though it's foreign to their actual being. And in a greater sense, they will learn about who they are by experiencing that which they aren't, that which is foreign to them. And so they will feel it, and they will see it, and they will know it, and they will know how it grates upon them. And sooner or later, they will leave that profession, and they will say, "It is not me. I know who I am now."
and they will be an expert on the reason for which they are not that.
Yeah. And they will be more familiar with who they are if they weren't before.
Yeah, it comes to mind a guy I knew, and I still know, and I went to high school with him, very close. He wanted to be a doctor, got through his undergrad and university, applied to med school, didn't get in, or wanted to be a veterinarian. Applied to vet school, didn't get in. Applied to another vet school, didn't get in next year. Applied to be a medical doctor, didn't get in. So then, well, I'll be a dentist. And, beautiful guy, and he's centered in himself. Yet, I wonder, has he really been true to himself? Or was that having that D, capital D, small r, period, in front of your name rather than Mr.? The carrot being waved in front of the nose. And I think, that's just one example of it.
Yeah.
It's one that sticks within my consciousness. It's been there for me, yet we all sell out our being, or have sold out our being in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Because we feel like we're human doings and we've got to be X.
Right.
We've got to be a doctor. We've got to be somebody that other people think is important. Got to be something that other people feel is successful. All these traps that we get caught in that pull us further into the illusion, further away from our being. And if we are clear, then we see that in the presence of that which we are without, we can experience that which we really are.
Yeah.
So within that is the cultivation of awareness. It is important to be able to recognize that.
Yeah. If we are without awareness as to ourself, then we will find ourselves in situations that will show us the inverse of that.
Mm-hmm.
And we will experience it until we're quite certain that that's the inverse of who I actually am. And if we are willing to, have our eyes opened into awareness, there are many people that will battle against that awareness, and so we'll toil through it. Some people will say, "Well, why do I've cleared this lesson? Why do I keep having this lesson come up?" And it's that the actual lesson hasn't been seen or witnessed. And, in that whole process of endeavoring repeatedly against, that who I am, against who I am, is as part of it's part of also what we were talking about earlier as far as control dramas. That whole process of feeling like I need to be in control of life rather than open to life expressing itself through me. And so since I have to be in control of life, well, then I have to choose an avenue of expression that I deem worthy, rather than embracing how life is expressing itself through me already. And that's where people I find are most valuable. I ran a small business for a short time, and I had people that were recently out of high school looking for a job. And one came in, he says, hey man, you need any help? And I said, you know what? I do need help. And I said, what are you good at? He said, oh man, I'll do anything. I just need money. And I said, oh, I was mistaken. I thought you were here to help me, but it sounds like you're in need of help. Well, right now I'm unable to provide help. And so it didn't work out between us. And so what I was looking for individuals to assist me in that business were those who knew what they like to do and were able to stand up for that. And so some people would come in and say, could I organize and alphabetize your used records? And there's someone who knows what they like to do and who's comfortable with it. You know, they're like, hey, I've got an analytical mind. I'm quick with alphabetizing, I'm categorizing, and I love music, and I'm familiar with the dust and grime of other people's records that you happen to have a plethora of. And so they would go about alphabetizing and organizing the used records, most of which were valued at $1. So I spent a small portion of my workday applying myself at alphabetizing them, and spent more time of alphabetizing the brand new records. And so I would coach people on this. They would come in, they're like, what do you mean? What am I good at? And I said, well, what do you like to do? Like, well, I like to snowboard. Like, that's, okay, so rather than how do you like to pleasure yourself, if you're going to participate in a club or a community activity or a family gathering activity, what is it that what kind of activities do you volunteer to be a part of? Is it communicating with people? Is it leading? Is it organizing information? What is it that you naturally jump in to want to be a part of? You know, if everyone's making dinner, you know, what is it that you want to do? Is it chopping the onions? Is it, is it collecting the dishes? Is it setting the table? You know, is it which part is it that you are gravitate to and that you're excited to be a part of? When it's not about money, how do you want to contribute to your community? And this is where it comes back to, that's why I stopped calling what I do in my life work. Is because I'm specifically looking for how I may contribute to my community in a beneficial way that works or that is in line with my unique gifts and abilities. I love communicating with people. I love nurturing the soil and communicating and being in that plant world communication. And so, currently I find myself in an agricultural department and working in, or applying myself at a garden and communicating with the landowners about the needs of the land and being that intermediary.
Yeah, for me, that comes up with the, being outside of work, was a teacher, a learner that I had, that I've been with, mentioned to me that, can shift it to tasking rather than working. And then after a while I saw that tasking can elevate to playing, and playing can elevate to joy.
Yeah.
And that's where our highest vibrational rate, at least the highest vibrational rate that this sand shell can sustain, they're vibrating into nothing. So, sticking with that joying. So now there's that scale for me, am I joying with this? Is it sit down, am I just playing with this? Is it tasking now? Is it dropped out of tasking? And even below tasking, like you were talking about, I think you shared a couple of weeks ago, maybe about pickaxing out the buffalo grass and the big root balls. To me, you'd shift it into toiling.
Yeah.
So I think, that's really where what we're looking for, because often under that false guise of work, it can be all of those things. Yeah. And for me, when I think of the word work, is something functioning correctly? Is that working? Is this computer working? Is the camera filming as well as recording audio? We ran into that recently.
Yeah.
So is it working? So what do you, is working in that context, is it functioning well for you?
Yeah.
So then to me, like, okay, it's a lot easier when I look at it from that perspective. It's easier for me to see it as joying, as playing, as tasking, as toiling, and making sure that, endeavoring to be in those upper three, especially the top, the joying. If it's slipping down into playing, into tasking, into toiling, it gives me a certain amount of awareness of where my vibratory level is. Am I in a high state of my frequency quite high, or is it quite low?
Yeah.
So really being mindful of that, and understanding that in our highest natural state, we're in joy all the time. And I've been through the phases in this life where it's been, well, that's just not possible. We've got to work with this. There's hard stuff to do.
Yeah.
Yet where I see myself now is endeavoring to be in joy in each moment. And what does that look like? And what holds me back from being in joy in each moment? And the more I look at it, the less it has to do with external circumstances, or other beings. But it used to have a lot to do with them, and now I find that it's all to do with me, and those external circumstances, those external beings are just reflecting back what is really within me, where I can be focusing my attention and intention to be in joy in each moment. So, I was sharing with you earlier that I'd gone grocery shopping this morning at Costco, and I had it in my head when I got home that, we pulled up and I was gathering some stuff that Sage had come with me. Why is Andrea not coming out to help me? Doesn't she know that I've got a case of beer and I've got a case of water, and bought some stuff for Isha, and, all these things. And so it ended up that I was, being a bit of, my behavior was a bit prickish towards Andrea, when we first got home. And I don't like how I'm feeling, endeavoring to pull that energy from her back into me to be in control. As we're talking about control dramas.
Yeah.
Being that intimidator. I don't like, it doesn't feel beneficial to me to be in this space. So what is this about? And I was able to look at, well, as kids growing up, it was always if someone got home with groceries, that we would stop whatever we were doing to help that person out. And it's beneficial in, remembering responsibility and being a part of what is going on. Yet when it's someone intimidating others, and creating them into victims to then do their bidding for them, then that's not a benefit. Because then that energy that I'm pulling off those other beings as the intimidator, putting them in the position of victims, it's just low vibration that I'm pulling to myself. It's not that high vibration that I can feel. When I know that I could easily have walked in the door and said to Andrea, we've got a bunch of stuff in the car. It's really hot outside. Would you mind coming out and giving us a hand? And I know she would have said yes.
Yeah.
Unless she was, not feeling up to doing that.
Yeah.
So it would have allowed her to express herself honestly in that place, other than me jumping into judgment. So recognizing, that in this situation, it had nothing to do with a hot day, with what was Andrea doing. It was all about me and what I was endeavoring to control in that situation, rather than coming from a place of joy and admitting some vulnerability and just feeling hot and warm and a little bit tired, hungry, and asking for some help, asking for some assistance.
Yeah, and in that, there's also the higher mode of assistance. So when I find myself in a diminished capacity, I turn to the divine for assistance. I open to the flow of life. The force of life is forever extending itself through this being. And we are continuously available to it. And it is forever sustaining us. And so in that moment where I think I need something from someone else, in our little self-belief state, we say, oh, I have to go get that help from Todd. I have to go get that help from Andrea. I have to go get that help from, some other human being. And this is that belief that the outside world is sustaining the inside world. And so we have these concepts that the outside world is what's happening. Well, the outside world isn't what's happening. It's that life is happening. That the force of life is forever extending itself through me and expressing itself into this reality that we are experiencing as an outside life. That we see outside of ourselves, we can feel outside. But that's not where it all exists. Everything exists from the upwelling of life through the finer nature of reality, and we can say it is the energy that extends through the quantum realm that then becomes the material realm and then formulates into atoms and formulates into molecules and formulates into cells and formulates into the different elements that we find ourselves around us. But it's that life that is extending itself into reality. So when I think that I'm in a diminished capacity, that I actually have to have help from someone else that isn't already being provided, it's because I believe that the outside world is going to achieve the happiness that I'm looking for. And the happiness that I'm looking for is already trying to express itself through me. And so when I open to life expressing itself completely and fully through me, surrender to the moment, and it buoys me up, somebody comes and offers assistance. Rather than me needing to reach out and go get it. This idea that I have to go get life to stay alive. That it's necessary. No, I needed help. I'm physically unable to do something maybe perfect and true. However, the need to go get help is the confusion. Is that when we are totally and completely open to life expressing itself perfectly through us, help is always provided. Someone steps up and says, hey, may I assist you with that?
Or even feeling a well of energy within itself.
Yeah, which then strengthens the body and clears our mind. It refreshes ourselves, refreshes our sight and our breath. Energy comes from where all energy comes from, and it's forever expressing itself through us. The idea that I have to ask for assistance is the idea that assistance is unavailable to me, is that life is unavailable to me, that I have to go consume life to be alive. And that's where the control drama lies. The idea that Jonathan has to make life happen. And so we can describe it in many ways. And James Redfield just described it in the Celestine Prophecy as the four main control dramas. He described it in a way I find fascinating, and it seems to describe what's going on around you real well. And it is the intimidator balanced by the victim, and the interrogator balanced by the aloof. And each one of these create each other in a nurturing environment. The root of all of it is the belief that the ego, the little self that believes in its own name as being reality, that self has to control life in order to stay alive. That you have to protect yourself from life. That you can build enough walls, that you can buy enough fire extinguishers, you can buy enough guns, and you can store enough food, you can store enough water, and you can build enough umbrellas, and that you can build enough bridges, and you can have enough cars, and you can have enough tanks to protect you from everything that life can throw at you. Well, that's just not true. There isn't anything that anyone can do to save themselves from the woes of life if they believe that life is filled with woes. And so this is where the control drama really exists, is the idea that I can protect myself from death. That there's something I can do to keep myself alive. Well, there isn't anything I can do to keep myself alive. In fact, the more that I get out of the way, the more alive I am. The more that I let go of trying to be in control of life, the more life continually extends itself through.
Yeah, there's nothing that we can do to keep ourselves alive. There's much that we can be about or be with that keep us alive.
It's all part of the process of life expressing itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like there are breatharians. There are people who have learned the process of opening to life, that breathe in the light rays of the sun and breathe in the prana and are sustained on that alone. There are people that have eaten 3 grains of rice for 40 days. There are people that only eat vegetables. There are people that only eat meat. There, there's all different, there are so many different ways that life is expressing itself. Just on this planet alone, we have no idea what's going on in the cosmos, but the expression of life on this earth is without end of discovery so far. That we're still discovering new plants and new bacteria, new animals that, and we can't say discovering them, it's just that the Western mind is becoming aware of them. There was a time when scientists thought that bacteria could only exist in certain temperatures. Well, now they find that there's this bacteria that lives right by the lava chutes in the ocean. Thousands of degrees, and there's these little dudes hanging out. They're like, "Hi, National Geographic!" They're like, whoa, how can you live there? And they're like, what do you mean? That however we choose to participate in this life is however we choose to participate in this life. Life is forever expressing itself. There is the fallacy of control. The idea that Jonathan has to do whatever Jonathan has to do to stay alive. This is a misnomer. That Jonathan's life will end when life says that this package needs to be reorganized. And Jonathan may contribute to that. And, probably the more that Jonathan gets out of the way, the more life freely expresses itself. And so therefore this package continues on further. The more that Jonathan holds on to Jonathan being Jonathan, and Jonathan is what's important about life, probably will get to the point of Jonathan needing to be reorganized quickly. Because Jonathan is not in control. Jonathan did not ask to get born. Jonathan did not design the body. Jonathan did not request the brown hair, the blue eyes, 5'8", male. These choices were not made. Jonathan did not do that. Jonathan did not set up the cellular structuring that came about through the union of his parents and sharing of DNA. Jonathan did not design DNA. Did not design the whole process that means to be here, but yet Jonathan thinks he has to control life. And that's just not true. And in fact, Jonathan cannot control life. Jonathan is without the ability to control life, but believes he needs to. And so sets up dramas and runs around and goes to his neighbors and says, hey, I need to be in control of the energy right now, so here, give me some of your energy. And maybe I'll even interrupt you in our conversation so that you will give me your energy. And that's yet another aspect of control.
Yeah. That's humorous because that's one that I've really endeavored to be aware of. When someone would say something and I'd be so excited, I want to interject with it right now.
Yeah.
Or then that I think, it's impolite to interrupt. So I'm going to not listen to anything they're saying until there's a pause and remember what it is that I wish to say, and then interject when there's a pause.
Yeah. But
I'll have missed everything that they said, so I might as well have interrupted.
Right?
Yeah. This interplay, this game of energy, that which cannot be created nor destroyed is moving into things, through things, out of things, constantly.
Yeah.
Yet we feel we have to control it. That we're in competition with everyone and everything else to get a piece of ours.
Mm-hmm.
We have to preserve what is ours. That's the lie.
Yeah. You got to preserve your body. You got to go get everything that the body needs. You got to go get it. You got to go take it from life. And this is, what indigenous people talked about is, the white people coming over there, such takers. It's even been discussed hugely here on the island of Kaua'i. That why are Howleys takers? Why do they take everything? Where do they believe that they have to take life? You got to take life in order to get life. And theft of life. We believe that we need to go steal life. We need to connive life out of life. And we've got to be crafty. You got to learn how to go get life. He's a go-getter.
And you can't let anybody else in on your secrets as to how to do it.
Yeah.
Maybe someone you're mentoring, maybe your child, but you can't let them in on your secrets, because then they might steal something that's yours.
Yeah, they might get it before you get it.
This game of always being in fear.
Yeah.
Always looking over our shoulder rather than just embracing and loving and knowing that all other beings are doing exactly what we are. Endeavoring to gain more awareness of the attachments that brought about this physical birth, or we become aware of those. Yeah. Do we always remember that? I'm grateful to have awakened to the notion that I feel is correct in that regard.
Yeah.
Or is beneficial in that regard. Yet it still is my own feeling of what is beneficial. I can't say that works for you, Jonathan, or anyone else. As I like to tell people, I'm just offering intuitive information that's coming through, reminding them that each individual is their own truest channel.
Yes.
That anything that's coming through me for you, although it might be correct, it's still having my biases placed on them.
Yeah.
My own points of view. So always trusting our own heart. Knowing that people offer that from the goodness of their own heart. Yes. If it's not your truth, it's not your truth.
Absolutely.
A guy I was talking with the other night, and he'd been over giving a massage to our friend. We knew his girlfriend and son, and they'd stayed here for a little bit, so I was chatting with her, and he completed a massage, and we were chatting. I was just talking to him about, what he felt about being a healer. And, he said, well, he just really sees it as massage, not as healing. I said, well, what about, your spiritual nature? What about your spirit? What your spirit is manifesting through your soul and your essence, through your spirit, coming into this flesh-bound ego that we've taken on here. What do you think of that? He said, I try to think about spirituality as little as possible. And I said, that's awesome. Thank you for being so clear with that.
Yeah.
And I said, I would encourage you to go as deep into that as you can. Because then that next opportunity will present itself. That being without spirituality is not finite. Just as anything is not finite. If you're led to go into that, then be with that as much as you can. Be about that as much as you can. Knowing when that is complete, the next opportunity will present itself. Because as we know with certainty here, everything changes.
Yeah. Yeah, and some people, material reality is reality. For some people, spiritual reality is reality. For some people, anywhere in between. It's beautiful. It's in this life and in this opportunity of recognizing being, that those who are interested in recognizing their being are those that are interested in it. Simple as that. For some people, the best thing for their life is to focus on doing. And that's the best thing for their life. Everyone here is in their own. That we are each individual expressions. That we do live in a collective reality. However, we are still each individual expressions of life. And it's so beautiful. It's a wonder to perceive, that there are so many different kinds of human beings. There's a viewpoint for life as to the number that there are eyes. There are that many different perspectives as to what's happening. That's why I love the whole truth. This idea that you go to court and you got to swear on the Bible that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Well, that's impossible. There isn't any single individual that's able to tell the whole truth. Well, it's an impossibility to tell the whole truth. For the whole truth is beyond an individual perspective. In order to tell the whole truth, one would have to have the perspective of the wholeness and be able to speak for the whole being, which is beyond any individual being. And so therefore, it's an absolute impossibility for anyone to speak the whole truth. And so I laugh at the whole court system based on that oath. Like anyone who really gets it is going to say, well, I'm unable. It's an impossibility to speak the whole truth. It is without ability. We are without the ability of speaking the whole truth. And that's why it's, I like that you bring it up, and I like to reiterate is that what I'm saying is for me. That everything that's coming out of my mouth primarily is so that I can hear it. That it may be clear to me that I actually have an opportunity of hearing it. And all the sound vibrations that are coming out are bathing the cellular body, and that my cells get to hear it too. This is a perspective that I hold.
Yeah, one thing that comes up for me to say, occasionally to people is my point of view is only that.
Yeah,
it's mine.
Yeah. This understanding of control dramas and the flow of energy has proven profound in my life. It seems like utter and complete nonsense to other people's lives. However, when the flow of energy became tangibly aware in my life, where I feel the energy passing between people, that I feel people's energy dump onto me like a wave and feel like it hit me like a wave at the ocean. That's my reality. That experience isn't occurring for other people, let's say. For some people, maybe it is. And so for me, the passage of energy between people is quite real. And for some people, it's fairy tale land. And that's fine. However, in recognizing that I have been carrying these control dramas in my life and using them as a tool in order to set up scenarios so that people will give me their energy, when realizing that, I look at it and go, wait a minute, I don't need their energy. That also comes from an awareness that there is energy flowing into me from another space that I'm intimately in contact with. And so being able to lay myself down and feel it flow into me. And there isn't anything I can do to get it to flow into me. Everything that I'm doing is preventing it from flowing into me and expressing itself perfectly through me. And so it's usually controlling life, not doing what life wants to do. And so for me, I have found that in surrendering and letting go and being open, that this energy flows into me and flows through me, flows into the universe around me, and affects others in my midst. I especially love when children are learning their tools from their parents, learning their control dramas, and they would come in my business and they're like, hey, I just learned this from my parents. I was wondering if I could try it out on you. And I would say, oh, really? and open to the flow of life's energy into the universe around me, and they would stop. They were just about to reach for the DVD rack and start rearranging it to their own pleasure, and they would stop right where they are. They would get this funny look on their face, and they go, "Okay, bye," and they would leave. I was having a conversation with a woman, and her son was out of the loop. He wasn't in the conversation. Energy is passing between her and I, and he's feeling left out. So he's looking around for where's something that he can physically interact with, so that he'll be part of the circle too. So in my awareness, I see him seeking it out. And so rather than wait for him to do something and then reprimand him for doing it, I just recognized that he was feeling left out and turned to him and engaged him in the conversation as well. And that's opening the circle and having everyone to be a part of it. I mean, every human being that's in our midst is in our midst, whether we want them to be or not. And so, and in engaging the child in the conversation, now he's part of that sharing too. Now, he isn't relying upon a drama in order to forcibly have the energy come his way. He's learned from his parents that the energy is available in the cycle of humans rather than, being in the flow of universal life. And so he's looking for an outward trauma to get the energy coming his way. And so then we send I've even just opened to the energy flow without personally engaging them, and they receive the energy, and they then no longer have to create a drama to get it. It is quite amazing how when we really dive deeper into life, there's no end. That life is phenomenal beyond bounds.
I think that's a beautiful place to bring our place of completion in.
Yeah, you feel good with that?
Oh, I do.
All right.
I do. I feel, that it is without end. It is without end. And I know that, a few different stories coming up that I can share that I take us into a longer time frame, and I feel that it's beneficial. Yeah, to bring things to a close. Okay. For today. Is there anything else you would like to touch on?
No.
Yeah, I would just like to say that that contrast between doing and being is vast.
Oh.
And we can certainly get caught in either place. What's the place where I'm coming from, and I feel we are collectively is just the place of cultivating awareness about being. Mm-hmm. And acknowledging that have we been caught in the place of being a human doing rather than a human being.
Yeah. If you're interested in being, please join us again.
Mm-hmm. Much love all. You're all amazing. Thank you.